Good morning and welcome to the Daily Light Devotion. I hope all of you have had a wonderful Saturday and looking forward to today, that is the 24th of May. Today we're going to look at First Chronicles chapter 11 to 13 in the Old Testament, and the New Testament we're going to look at John chapter 9 verses 1 to 23. The theme for First Chronicles chapter 11 to 13 is God's chosen king, worship and reverence of God's presence. David becomes king in these chapters all over Israel. These chapters focus on God establishing David's kingdom, mighty warriors serving the king, and bringing the Ark of Covenant towards Jerusalem. These chapters emphasize God's chosen leadership, honor towards God's presence, and worship and obedience. Most importantly, they point us to Jesus, the greater king from David's line. Chapter 11, all Israel gathers and recognizes David as king. They acknowledge God chose David to shepherd his people. David captures Jerusalem, becomes the center of the kingdom. The chapter also lists David's mighty men, loyal warriors who served faithfully. David points forward to Jesus, the promised Son of God, the shepherd king. But David was still imperfect. Jesus is greater because he rules perfectly. He leads with complete righteousness, and his kingdom lasts forever. Jesus is the true shepherd king who faithfully leads his people. David's mighty men risked their lives for him. Their loyalty and devotion were extraordinary. This shows true commitment to the king, sacrificial service. Followers of Jesus are called to be faithful, courageous, and have a devotion to Christ, towards Christ. Jesus himself showed the greatest sacrifice by giving his life for us, his people. Jesus deserves wholeheartedly loyalty and devotion. Chapter 13, David describes desires to bring the Ark of the Covenant to Jerusalem. The Ark represented God's presence amongst his people. During the transport, Hosea touches the Ark improperly. He dies immediately. David realizes God's holiness must be treated with reverence. Worship must follow God's instructions. This chapter reminds us God is holy. Sin cannot casually approach him. Jesus makes access to God possible through his sacrifice, through his righteousness. Because of Christ, believers can come near to God with confidence and reverence. Jesus opens the way into God's holy presence. So the key takeaways from these three chapters is God established his chosen king. Jesus is the greater Son of God. The true followers serve the king faithfully, and God is holy and worthy of reverence. Jesus brings believers into God's presence. John chapter 9 verses 1 to 23 theme is spiritual blindness, healing, and the light of the world. These verses, Jesus heals a man born blind. The miracle is not only about physical healing, he also teaches about spiritual blindness, faith, recognizing who Jesus truly is. Jesus reveals himself again as the light who brings sight and truth. Verses 1 to 7, the disciples ask Jesus who sinned for this man or his parents. People often believe suffering was directly connected to personal sin, but Jesus answers the man's condition would display God's work. Jesus then heals the blind man, making mud, placing it into his eyes, and telling him to wash it. The man returns, seeing. Jesus has power over suffering, brokenness, and darkness. This miracle points to a greater truth. Jesus can heal spiritual blindness too. Jesus brings light and healing where there is darkness. Right. Verses 8 to 17, neighbors are amazed. Some cannot believe that this is the same man. Pharisees investigate because Jesus healed on Sabbath. Instead of celebrating a miracle, they focus on the rules and traditions. The healed man simply testified, I was blind, now I see. Religious pride can blind people to God's work. The healed man does not know everything, yet he responds honestly to Jesus' work in his life. A real encounter with Jesus changes people completely. Verses 18 to 23, the religious leaders question the man's parents. His parents confirm he was born blind. He can now see, but they are afraid to speak openly because they will be disembarked from the synagogue. The leaders threaten to punishment from anyone supporting Jesus. This passage shows some people reject the truth out of fear. Others remain silent to protect themselves. Yet Jesus continues revealing the truth despite opposition. Following Jesus sometimes requires courage. Not sometimes, but always requires courage, right, in the face of pressure. And the key takeaways is Jesus is the light who brings sight. Spiritual blindness is more serious than physical blindness, and Jesus has the power to transform life. Religious pride can prevent people from seeing the truth, and faith in Jesus requires courage and honesty. First Chronicles shows God establishing David's kingdom and emphasizing a reference for his presence. John 9, verses 1 to 23 show Jesus, the greatest son of David, brings light to the blind and revealing God's power. Jesus still opens blind eyes today, physically, spiritually, and emotionally. We need to come to him, walk in the light, and truly see who he is and be set free. Have a wonderful Sunday, and I'll see you tomorrow. God bless you.